A girl didn't step foot inside a classroom until she was 17. She literally couldn't tell Europe from America on a map. She had to learn basic arithmetic from scratch, not as a child, but as a teenager. 7 years later, she's standing at Cambridge University, collecting a PhD in history. Her memoir landed on Barack Obama's annual reading list. The New York Times called it one of the most important books of the decade. It sold tens of millions of copies, translated into over 40 languages, and spent years dominating bestseller lists worldwide. People love to package it as the ultimate underdog story, the girl who came from nothing and made it. But read the whole thing, and you'll realize Tara Westover isn't writing about making it at all. She's writing about the sheer, agonizing willpower it takes to claw your own identity back from the people who loved you the most. Let's set the scene. Tara was born in the mountains of rural Idaho. Her father ran a scrapyard, meaning she literally grew up in a junkyard. Out of 7 children, not one had a birth certificate. Not one. Her father was a hardcore off-the-grid survivalist. Zero trust in the federal government, public schools, or hospitals. A kid gets sick? No doctors. Just mom's homemade herbal salves. You break a bone? No cast. You lie in bed and wait for it to heal itself. Here's a story that stopped me cold. When Tara was 10, she was working the scrapyard with her dad. A piece of scrap iron slid off a pile and sliced her leg open. Blood everywhere. Her father took one look, told her mother to apply some lavender oil, wrapped the wound in a rag, and told Tara to get back to work. That was her childhood. No classrooms, no textbooks, no friends her own age. Her entire universe was that mountain, that junkyard, and her father's unshakable certainty that the outside world was corrupt and the apocalypse was coming. Here's the part that will genuinely unsettle you. Tara didn't think anything was wrong. She loved her father. She respected his absolute certainty. She actually pitied the kids in town who went to school. She thought they were the ones being conditioned by a corrupt system. Tara wasn't a captive. She was a true believer. She lived inside a completely self-contained reality, built entirely by her father. It was so solid, so internally consistent, that she never thought to question it. Not knowing things wasn't the terrifying part. The terrifying part was not knowing she didn't know. She lived on a mountain and believed the mountain was the entire world. And that is the root of everything that follows. At 16, Tara made a decision that defied everything her father stood for. She was going to college. The catalyst was her older brother Tyler, the only sibling who had quietly left the mountain years before. He came back and said something simple that she never forgot. "If you stay here, you'll never know who you could have been." That single sentence broke something open in her. She taught herself enough to take the act. She got accepted to Brigham Young University. And on her first day of class, her entire reality began to come apart. She learned that when you're sick, you can go to a doctor, that this is just a normal thing people do. She heard the word Holocaust in a lecture for the first time in her life. She raised her hand and asked what it meant. The room went silent. The professor thought she was joking. Her classmates stared. And in that silence, Tara understood, for the first time, that her past 17 years had been profoundly, completely abnormal. Sit with that for a second. Every meal you ate, every word you spoke, every truth you held, and someone tells you it was all built on a distortion. Do you accept it? Do you even dare to? Because if you do, where does your childhood go? What does that make the people who raised you? Tara wrote that the hardest part wasn't failing calculus. It wasn't not fitting in socially. It was that every new fact she learned felt like a small death. Every step forward felt like a betrayal of everyone she came from. One day, she's sitting in a library, reading about bipolar disorder. She's going through the symptoms one by one, and she realizes she's reading a description of her father. She closed the book, walked to the bathroom, and broke down completely. Because accepting that her father might be mentally ill meant accepting something much harder. That her entire childhood, everything she had defended, everything she had believed, was built on the reality of a man who was genuinely unwell. You can catch up on knowledge. You can learn to navigate a world you weren't prepared for. But dismantling your 20-year definition of what is real? That requires a kind of courage most of us have never been asked to find. But there's a second layer to this story, and it's darker. There's a figure in this book who stays with you long after you finished it. Her older brother, Sean. Sean was violently unpredictable. One day, he'd be the most tender person, taking her horseback riding, bringing her small gifts, making her laugh. The next day, Without warning, he'd grab her by the hair, drag her down a hallway, call her degrading names in front of the entire family. Tara describes multiple incidents of serious physical violence, and every time she looked to her parents, and her parents looked away. Later, her mother's response was this: "Sean is just playing around." Tara writes that those words hurt more than anything Sean ever did physically, because a bruise heals. But having your own experience of abuse reframed as affection, that dismantles your grip on reality itself. You start questioning whether what happened to you even happened. This is what makes the book so hard to breathe through. She isn't describing a villain. She's describing a control system wrapped in the language of love and faith. Think about the logic. I'm keeping you from school because I'm protecting you. I'm refusing doctors because God will provide. I hurt you because I love you so much, it scares me. Every act of harm arrives disguised as sacrifice. And the moment you try to name it, the moment you say, "This hurt me," you become the ungrateful one. You become the one tearing the family apart. Tara wrote that the deepest prisons aren't made of iron bars. They're constructed out of guilt. So what was waiting for her on the other side of all of this? Cambridge, a PhD. Recognition from some of the world's leading historians. Most people read that and exhale. She made it. Happy ending. But here's what the text actually says, and this is the part most summaries leave out. Her time at Cambridge was, in many ways, a different kind of crisis. She developed severe anxiety. She would lock herself in her dorm room before exams, physically sick with dread. Her relationships were shadowed by deep insecurity, and she kept asking herself the same question over and over. Do I even deserve to be here? Psychologists call this imposter syndrome. But Tara's version wasn't the ordinary kind, the kind where a competent person doubts their competence. Tara's version ran deeper. She had been taught from birth that this world was corrupt, that pursuing it was a form of moral failure. So every single day she spent at Cambridge was an act of rebellion against the most fundamental beliefs she was raised with. In her family's story, her greatest achievement was her greatest betrayal. Most content about this book skips over this part entirely, but I think it's the most important part, because it tells you something true about what it actually costs to leave a world you were raised in, even when leaving is the right thing to do. Toward the end of the book, someone asks Tara what education actually gave her. Her answer is quiet. And it's the most honest thing in the book. She says it didn't give her wealth. It didn't guarantee happiness. It didn't fix her family. What it gave her was the ability to stand outside her own life and see it clearly. For the first time, she could separate her own thoughts from the ones she had been handed. She could tell the difference between love and control dressed as love. She finally had the language to name what had been done to her, the things she had felt but could never articulate. Psychologists call this metacognition, the capacity to think about your own thinking, to observe the stories you've been living inside of, and choose whether to keep living in them. But the price of that clarity was the steepest thing she ever paid. After the book came out, a journalist asked her about her family. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "My parents and most of my siblings no longer speak to me, and I keep coming back to that because here's the question this book leaves you with, and I don't think there's an easy answer. What do you do when becoming yourself means losing the people who made you?" That's not a question Tara Westover answers for you. She just shows you with brutal honesty what it cost her to ask it. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the most educated thing she ever did wasn't getting into Cambridge. It was deciding her own experience was real, even when everyone she loved told her it wasn't.